worked for these things to happen. We need the power back. We need it now. We need to move to a solar-based power, to a wind-based power where it's affordable in Puerto Rico. And let's just have other companies that bring other type of solutions to the table that can be quickly. Tesla just did a very beautiful project. They did it for free on Hospital de Niño, the children's hospital. They put solar panels on top of the roof. So those are the type of things that we can do that will bring us up to the 21st century and will get us away from the addiction to fossil fuel.
Thank you so much. Always great to talk to you. San Juan Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now let's bring in my panel. Caton and Jennifer are back, and joining me now is Nayyera Haq, former White House Senior Director. Nayyera, I'll go to you first. $332 a day for lodging, $80 a day for meals. That's just some of the contract details. We now see the governor joining the mayor of San Juan, the governor of Puerto Rico, saying that that contract should be canceled. Can you sort of explain or imagine how this contract could have happened in the first place? LinkedIn seems to be an insufficient explanation.
Well, it is potentially a story about bad contracting and shady side deals in Puerto Rico. And the irony here is that a lot of what Whitefish brought to the table, a proprietary technology that only they had access to, and an investor who understands Puerto Rico and has many connections there, are actually things that you would look for when awarding a government contract, which is something competitive and an understanding of the landscape. The challenge with Puerto Rico and the fact that we started off with already a state in bankruptcy is that nobody else really wanted to bid in Puerto Rico because they weren't going to be guaranteed to be paid. This is the broader connection to the Trump administration. It's actually not necessarily the Zinke connection, because he's Secretary of Interior, not directly connected to disaster response. It's that the bean counters at FEMA and in the White House didn't sit down with the bean counters in Puerto Rico early enough to say, hey, we need to sit here and we need to put out a call to contractors and people and tell them the federal government will back up the work that's being done in Puerto Rico. We will make sure that you will get paid. And this is the problem of this administration, is not looking and focusing on process early enough. It is not just a matter of FEMA being able to send people and Navy ships, but doing the behind-the-scenes contract work and giving assurances to American companies that if they work in a state disaster recovery like Puerto Rico, they will get paid. This is how you end up with the organization in Puerto Rico being desperate to sign a contract and get anybody in to the state to be able to get electricity back. And we should be expecting far more, as Mayor of Puerto Rico just said, we should be expecting far more from the federal government when it comes to disaster response.
I'm going to get Jennifer Rubin's response to that, but I first want to play the CEO of Whitefish's interview, a little bit of it with Gabe Gutierrez, in which he defends the way that he landed the contract.
I found him on LinkedIn.
You found PREPA on LinkedIn?
You bet.
You used LinkedIn to get a $300 million contract.
LinkedIn's going to love this, but yeah.
Wow. Who specifically did you reach out to on LinkedIn?
Some of their procurement people, some of their engineering people. Then I got forwarded, I think, in a couple emails to the decision makers in PREPA.
Jennifer, to Nayyera's point, is that a process that sounds like a typical process for a modern federal government?
Well, it's great for LinkedIn, but no, that doesn't sound right. You know, to Nayyera's point, this is the flip side of this administration. Not only are they sleazy, but they are incompetent. This is coming from the top down. You have a president who doesn't care about governance, who doesn't care about details, and so no one else below him does. He's appointed no one in the White House to be the czar of Puerto Rico recovery. We have no idea what role, if any, that Zinke played in this. And we have a Congress that is uninterested in providing oversight. We can get answers to all of these if people in Congress, the chairman, who are all Republican right now, would call these people up to the Hill, try to figure out what's going on. That's their constitutional responsibility, is to exercise some oversight. And then we can work backwards and decide whether this was malfeasance, whether this, as Nayyera said, a problem that we didn't guarantee the contracts up front. But the president repeating over and over again, everything's fine, does not send a message to his administration or to Congress that they need to roll up their sleeves and get the work done.
And Kate, in addition to that, you had a contract that initially was not reviewable, that literally there was a clause in the contract saying it could not be audited by any agency or even reviewed. They've now since claimed they've deleted it, that they've not shown any evidence of it. What is going on here? What is the possible justification for it?
I can't indict the secretary nor the president on all of this right now. I can just kind of explain it a little bit from my perspective as a businessman. 3.4 million people in Puerto Rico, decades of poor political leadership, decades. A country that's upside down in every department with a $29 billion budget. One of very
our country, because they're part of our country.
I'm talking about a territory with $29 billion worth of consolidated budget. One of every four of those dollars comes from the Congress. So I'll take up for the Congress a little bit. I know the personal pain of stories. I'm from South Carolina, storms 1989. Cat 5 hit us from Charleston, South Carolina to Charlotte, North Carolina. I didn't have any power for a month. But there was infrastructure. We got an ocean between us and Puerto Rico. And I hear the politicians, they're doing what they should be doing. When I look at the contract as a business person, and I then hear the CEO tell me how he acquired it, you know, at that
time, pretty sweet deal.
Well, pretty sweet deal. I can't criticize him as a business person. I can tell you, when you're in a hurricane, in deference to who signed those things, you try to get any help you can. You try to get anything you can. So I don't know whether the logistics company, I don't know what they do. I know the performance to get a weak grid back up and what it's going to take to get Puerto Rico back up in shape is a 10-year project.
But $332 a day for lodging in a place where much of the hotel stock is decimated, this looks like inflation at a pretty dramatic and breathtaking scale for a company that had 2 people in it 2 years ago.
It looks egregious, and again, I can't indict the company. It is, and that will come back to get you. I mean, whether you sell coolers to somebody or whether, when you do that to people who are suffering, you get that personally and you get that professionally when it comes back around. I just know Puerto Rico needs help, and I know the suffering these people are going through, and I know that the politicians are going to have trouble keeping their jobs when this is over.
Well, we shall see. Heads may roll. Kate and Dawson, Nayyera Hawk, thank you very much. Jennifer will be back in our next hour. And coming up in our next hour, conservative media is